And welcome back to the program. One of the most important things that everyone's talking about right now is Georgia. Georgia on my mind, all eyes being on Georgia, even the president of the United States traveling there today, as well as President-elect Joe Biden, the vice president of the United States, and the vice president-elect. Everybody's focused on Georgia. Well, these three ladies I'm about to introduce you are leaders in Georgia who are on the ground in terms of getting out the vote. I have with me Juliana Njoku of Workforce, as well as Good Trouble, and she's going to talk about that as well. Then we have Barbara Arnwine of Transformative Justice, and also Jessica Fortune Barker, who's leading the youth movement there. Outstanding what these three ladies are doing. Thanks for being on the program today. Juliana, I'll begin with you. How important and how critical is it to start some Good Trouble and getting out this pivotal vote tomorrow?
Absolutely. John Lewis invited us all to get involved with Good Trouble, to cross over bridges and to make this count. It's very important for people to focus on what we're doing here right now, not just because it's a regular runoff election, but because of the social and economic implications of what happens if we don't take action today. There are a lot of things that are on the table, not just for this generation, not just for our seniors, but particularly for future generations to come. What we do here in the Georgia election, how we are able to hire the right people to do the right job on our behalf. Everybody has a stake in this as a US citizen to be able to come out and to get what they are looking for, to be able to focus on their interests. And in communities that have been underrepresented for so long, this is your chance to hire the right people and then hold them accountable so that you can finally have the interests and the necessary things that we need to advance our community, our society, and our nation forward.
That's really quite an ambitious plan. And Barbara Arnwine, you head up a group called Transformative Justice. I know today you're joining me from Atlanta, Georgia. They're at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. What's the role of Transformative Justice in this runoff election, or in particular, the Black voters, and trying to help them beyond just elections?
Well, I just want to, thank you for having me on the show. And Juliana is just definitely a jewel. She has already been working so hard with us and has brought so much genius and real help to this cause by leading the coat drive. So this is what people need to understand. Right now, Georgia is in the fight of its life when it comes to elections, because Georgia is changing. There's a growing population of African-American, Latino, Asian, and Native American voters who are being heard. They're having real impact on the election, and it was their votes that changed Georgia. That means change its political alignment from a normally Republican state to a blue Democratic state during the election. It was young voters, young Black voters in particular, voting social justice causes. It was Black voters. It was Latino voters, Asian voters, who really changed everything that happened during that election. As a result, people have been, suppressing the Black vote, suppressing all the Latino vote for years, in this decades, centuries in this state. But people are breaking out because they're fighting back like never before. They're uniting. And so what we are here to do is to help mobilize all those voters by fighting the lack of education, because they purposefully don't give voters good information so that they can vote correctly. So we're making sure people know where to vote, how to vote absentee, how to turn in those ballots, how to make sure they count. All of those things is what we're all here on the ground doing. But at the same time, as Juliana's program shows, we know that once an election is over, people got to live, people got to eat, people got to make money, people got to have a home, people have to be provided for. So we are trying to also address those structural and economic and direct needs. So our program is multifaceted, and you will see that when I mentioned the social justice interaction, that one of the things we're doing today is urging people to vote for justice. And we're saying vote for justice by voting for Ahmaud Arbery, who was slain by white vigilantes, and to vote against police brutality, because Georgia has a horrible history of police killing people and not being held accountable or brutalizing people. So we're saying let's vote for justice, economic, political, every kinds of justice.
I like the fact that the title says it very well, Transformative Justice. And of course, we'll talk about what Juliana is doing. But you mentioned the Black youth vote. When we return after the break, we'll talk to Jessica Fortune Barker, who is engaged, actively engaged in getting out that youth vote. And it's so important. We'll talk about that and more after the break. Welcome back to the program. We're talking about what's really critical in Georgia, and that's the Black voter and how important it is, but so much going on. We talked in the previous segment with Barbara Arnwine and Juliana Njoku about what's at stake here in terms of transformative justice. So it's not just about election, but it's also about youth. It's about getting the youth out there and helping them get engaged in politics and get engaged in their community and get engaged in social change and social justice. So joining us right now is Jessica Fortune Barker, who's on the ground. She's part of the ground game in getting out the youth vote in Georgia. How important is it for Black voters to understand the power of young people stepping up to become politically active, Jessica?
Yes, so thank you so much for having us on your show, Mr. Wright. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve alongside Juliana and Miss Barbara in such a pivotal time in our nation's history. So we know the youth vote is very critical. We see overwhelmingly youth, especially Black millennials, showed up ahead of the November 3rd elections, and we are so excited to see them on track to do the same and break records for the runoff elections on tomorrow. So we are very, very excited, but it is a different time with us facing COVID right now, and me being a millennial myself, having to campaign or shift how you're getting out the vote during COVID it's something, an experience that we're all going through and we're trying to learn and navigate. So we've been focusing most of our youth get out the vote efforts via social media. We know that right now with people being off of work and children being at home, that we're finding a lot of time on social media. So that was a perfect avenue to make sure that we engage our youth. So we have a very robust campaign going on Twitter and on Facebook at CJC_DC. And we are super excited. We keep people informed. We're all about, our youth committee is all about educating, engaging, and empowering millennials and Gen Zs to get out and vote. So we are super excited that they are doing the job. They are going to finish the job here in Georgia.
You know, you have me at all smiles, and I was watching Barbara in the background actually applauding you. I applaud the efforts that you've done to get the youth involved. It's one thing to see youth protesting against those things that have happened to Black Americans in the past year, but it's another thing to see them start effectuating change for policy development. And what I like about the way that all of you have conducted the campaign and getting out the vote in Georgia is that you've taken every tool to your advantage, such as votercades. And that's really important. Barbara, we've got a little bit of time left with you. Tell me about those votercades and how significant they've been in getting people to understand the issues.
Yes, the votercades are a creation of the genius, the vision, and the prophecy of one Daryl D. Jones, attorney Daryl D. Jones, who is the chair of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Really, in December 19th of 2019, more than a year ago, he said, I know that we're fighting a wave of voter suppression, but we're going to fight back with some new ideas, some new techniques. And one of those, he said, is we're going to march to the polls in droves in November, during the early voting, etc. But what we all didn't know as COVID would come, and COVID required us to rethink everything, but God is great and people are creative. And Daryl was able to take his idea and convert it not only to marches, but to votercades that are COVID safe because people stay in their cars. And basically it is a caravan. Some of the communities call it a parade. Other people call it, just a great community celebration. But we go, we get in our cars and we put signs on that say vote, let's get into good trouble. We have a big old banner of John Lewis that's 14 feet wide that we march in front of the caravan, in front of the votercade, and people love it. Because one thing the community knows is that we're not there for candidates, we're not there for parties, we're there for them, and they get it.
Coming back with more All Eyes on Georgia after this.
There's always a moment in history where something can go one way or the other. Our climate is calling on Georgia. The healthcare of the nation is calling on Georgia. Thus, if the pocketbooks of America, the need for stimulus, the need for unemployment, the need for jobs, all of that is calling on America. They're calling on Georgia. They're saying, Georgia, deliver us from evil. They're saying, Georgia, do good. Do get into the good trouble of John Lewis and turn this nation around. Vote tomorrow.
Yes.
Turn out.
Yes.
Take people to the polls.
Yes.
Call everybody you know.
Yes.
Let's vote Georgia.
Yes. Woo! Yes.
We focus on John Lewis. We focus on John Lewis because we understand that John Lewis dedicated his life to voting rights. We focus on John Lewis because Attorney Barbara Arnwine and I went to the Capitol where his body was laying in state. And we took a knee there. And we said and pledged that we would pick up the mantle of being certain that every voter's rights is protected and carry it forward. That we would not let his efforts be forgotten.
Everywhere where we've done the voter case, the actual voter turnout has gone up in the wake of the voter case. In fact, a lot of times the turnout has been dramatic the day we did it and continued thereafter. So we are so pleased that in this time of trouble, in the midst of threats, that we come up with a creative way of reaffirming voters, because voters are everything. Approximately one third of the 3 million who have already voted here during the Senate runoff are Black folks. And so that's an unprecedented turnout. In some places, the Black turnout is in excess of over 40%. And you got to understand that's 40% of the total registered voters. So I am just so proud. And the youth vote, as we were hearing, has just been amazing. So it just wasn't a one-time moment in November. It turns out that we're watching a real movement of political change in Georgia, where African-American voters and Latino voters and Asian voters, who are really turning out in high numbers, are just setting a new political alignment in the state. It's going to demand that power answer back, that we see realignment of power structures all over the state and more involvement, more leadership from people of color.
Very important what you just said there. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the leadership among people of color and Black Americans stepping out to do things, because it's more than just a vote. It's more than just a candidate, as you said. It's about the voters. And we'll talk to Juliana and Jessica and Barbara about that right after this. Welcome back to the program. Talking to three wonderful ladies who are leaders in getting out the vote on the ground there in Georgia. Juliana Njoku, you also have a development group called Workforce, and you're all about, as we heard Barbara talk about earlier, it's not just about the candidates. It isn't about the vote. It's about the voters, in particular, Black voters. Tell me in what ways you have been able to help voters understand that you care more about them than just at an election time.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Yes, my organization, Workforce Strong, because there's several workforce organizations here, so I want to be specific. We're just a 501c3, and our focus has always been about working families and working individuals. A lot of time, they are the invisible citizens that we take for granted. Because they have jobs, we think that they don't have needs. And what we found out is that they are truly the backbone of our communities, and they're the ones highest impacted because a lot of their jobs are their backbone jobs, service jobs, construction jobs, hospitality, early youth jobs, gateway jobs, have all been lost in sort of this pandemic. Mm-hmm. And so what we've done, and thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Daryl, and the whole team for allowing me to participate with such a great group, because what they've done is that they've merged the conversation where it needs to be. Most people think voting is an abstract act that happens once a year with some people you've never seen before and never heard about and will never see and hear from them again. What Transformative Justice, what Workforce Strong, what Georgia's National Organization of Women, what the Youth Committee has done to come together, and a host of other wonderful people that have come together to make this alliance, is that they've brought the conversation where it needs to be. We brought it home. In your house are your children. In your house are your needs. In your house is your roof, rental assistance, getting back to work, getting our children educated. We've brought it home, and then we've tied it to the actual policy line that gives you the resources and the systems to make that happen. And that is voting. That is your government. We've empowered people by going into their communities and bringing them not just the celebration with the votercade, but bringing them people that have the heart for the people. We've empowered them to remind them that you're the boss. You hire your people, you hire your commissioners, you hire your representatives, you hire your senators. A lot of people don't realize that they have the power to hire the people that are supposed to be there to set the systems in play for the quality of the life they want to live. And once people feel that empowerment and remember that you're the one that's doing the hiring, all of a sudden it's a lot easier to get them to do the job and to get them to help us finish the job. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're doing a coat drive. How can we ask you to stand out in a line and then leave you in the cold? That's not one of the things that we're interested in doing. So my organization, Workforce Strong, through the support of Transformative Justice and everybody else in between, even the support of you, Kelly, we're able to go out and hand out just yesterday 100 coats, but have 100 conversations about how you're empowered, how you're the boss, and how it's your time to select the people that are going to represent your interests. Today we're doing it again. Tomorrow we'll be out there again. Now we won't be doing coats tomorrow, but what we will be doing is continuing the conversation, continuing to empower people to say, you are the boss of your future. This is your country. This is your state. This is your community. If you want it to be better, idly sitting by and hoping somebody else does it for you has not worked in the past and will not work in the future. But directly going to people and say, hey, I need this done, and I'm going to hire you and then hold you accountable. Now that's an effective way to move about the change that we have been seeking as a community for a long time. So just to wrap it up, we love coming in to address your needs. We've also brought rental assistance information to people, rental support, through all of our support groups, we've been able to bring food. We've been able to go into these communities and have real conversations about real life issues and tie it to the policy line that they need to know, which is voting.
That's powerful. Thank you very much, Juliana Njoku. We'll take a break real quick. So I'm joined again by these three amazing women who are doing some Herculean efforts there on the ground. I want to talk to Jessica right now again about the important matter of Black youth getting out to vote, but also Black youth understanding their power of, as Jules was talking about, hiring people to run in government, but then to also hold them accountable. How important is that for the youth to understand that?
It's very important. So we always say every issue is a voting issue, and we use that to intersect into the youth communities to help them understand exactly how powerful their vote actually is. So many times you hear disengaged youth saying, my vote doesn't matter. So we bring up student loan debt. If you're worried about student loans, your vote matters. If you're worried about healthcare, your vote matters. If you have an elderly parent that you're going to have to take care of soon, your vote matters. So we take that intersectionality between everyday issues and policy, and we try to make it relevant to those young people where they can actually understand and actually see how their vote actually does matter. And we think that by engaging with our youth on that level, that is why we are seeing such an increase and an interest in getting out to vote. And then, of course, with Ahmaud Arbery's family, and just understanding the criticality behind criminal justice reform, social justice reform. We saw our youth go to the streets overwhelmingly in the middle of a pandemic to protest and march about these rights. So now we're just saying, take that same energy to the ballot box. It's time to exercise that power, translate that into your vote, and you go and you vote for that candidate that best represents the issues that matter to you and that best shape the community that you wish to see for yourself. So we're just so excited to be able to engage the youth and get them excited and involved around the vote. And I know that this is only the start. This election cycle, this election season, what we are seeing right now is only a start. We have now set up a blueprint with these votercades that I am sure are going to go on and on in history. So it's an exciting time to be a part of true transformative justice. And I'm so honored to be a part of that coalition.
Jessica, that's powerful. You a bad sister.
I'm learning well.
Yes.
So I've got to bring in Barbara. I know you've got to run for an important news conference today, but Barbara, all of this, what we're talking about here today is really the issue that's at hand for Black Americans. It's not just a matter of voting, it's also a matter of what we do with the power of that vote, but what we do to help each other be responsible for our own transformative justice.
Well, I want to, changing the political structures is critical. What we've loved is that through these votercades and the work of the Transformative Justice Coalition, guess what? We've gone into the communities that people like to ignore, that people say, oh, they don't vote. They're too poor. They don't have any money to give. All of these kinds of, dismissive attitudes towards these voters. But we go to their communities. We say that you count. We say that you're important. You're important enough that we are in the streets giving out our John Lewis buttons, doing our, talking to people, making sure they know where the precincts are. Many times while we're doing these votercades, people literally turn their cars around and join us and go to vote. We've had people while we've been marching with the banner, people come out and they start crying because they see John Lewis and they're reminded that they got to get into good trouble, necessary trouble. So it's really transformative because you know what we also see, Kelly, that makes my heart jump and it makes me just excited. It's the young people. Yeah. You got to see them doing their fists, their power fists bumps when they see the votercade, how many young people run out to the curbs and clap, because those are our future voters that we're creating. Oh, I mean, I call this a multi-dimensional, multifaceted effort, because it's not just about the people just going to the polls and voting. It's about transforming the whole sense about where democracy lies, how central it is to accountability. That's why we're going to be talking about policing today. We're going to be talking about the Ahmaud, Arbery tragedy and his family. You're going to hear family members saying that they never voted in their lives until Ahmaud was slain. But they know that voting is central, because they watch political power misfire. They watch political power be corrupted. So we say thank you to all the voters around our country. Thank you to all the activists who have joined us on the hotlines, the postcard writing, the votercades, organizing the community. Thank you. We are grateful, and we're not going anywhere. The Transformative Justice Coalition will be there for the people.
Thank you, ladies. Know you got to run, but thank you for being on this program.
Thank you so much.
Back with my
Thank
final
you.
word after this.